publishing was not for me. I'm not a publisher, and I actually go back back to 1978, way back when, and I had met Dennis Kitchen for the first time, and of course I walked up to him when I was talking to him, the young Steve Rude, the young Dennis, and I said, do you have any advice for me, Dennis? He says, yeah, don't go into publishing. I said, why not? He said, because you'll spend all your time being a publisher, not an artist. So that's what I remember about that. And then the money is all yours. It goes very, very fast. But I had to throw myself into it to know that it wasn't for me. Everything is a theory until you throw yourself into the water, and that's how you learn to swim. You get the preliminaries about what it's like to swim, and then you hit the water, and then you really find out. I guess I'm a risk taker. There's certain things that come up in my head that I believe in so much, and I get really enthused about it. I think much like Allred. And I have all these grand ideas, but slowly a reality, an alternate reality takes over, the one that says, boy, there's so many aspects of this that's not fun for me. And when I got to that point where there were too many peripheral duties involved in publishing, and then really it was the money. It was taking all that money that you earn and just realizing how fast it goes. And those were good lessons for me to learn. Somebody who's a risk taker has to take a leap, and we do that all the time. But it's only by leaping you discover the reality of what you're really getting into, and that's what really counts. That's when you start to have the experience for when people talk to you about certain aspects of what they may want to try with their lives, that you can be more authoritative than someone who just left it as a theory. But I think I don't know, it's my nature to be like that. And if it's your nature to be like that, you're going to be continually doing wacky things like that. And it's all based on an idea you have in your head. Boy, wouldn't this be fun? I don't need these stupid publishers. What do I need them for? They're not going to try what I want to try. The only one that can do it is me. That was part of the exciting part. The idea that I could do anything I wanted. I think that was kind of like one of the very original thoughts I had in my head that got me so excited about doing this.
Well, you call the shots, you're the boss, right? You call the shots, you're the boss. You make the decisions.
I've always been comfortable being my own boss because, I'm internally directed by things in your head that tell you where to go, and it told me that if someone's not going to publish my book, I'll publish it. I'll find a way to make it work. And I'm going to call it Rude Dude Comics, and it's going to be great. And I'm going to be doing all the things that the other publishers never did. I had a whole bunch of ideas for publishing. One was bringing back the romance comic. I mean, for 10 years, that was the rage, right? Well, I could bring it back and make it the rage again. One of the problems I had was that I wanted to draw all of these things. I needed different writers to come in, and some of these people were good and some were bad. That's another thing that really wore me down, is not having the right material that was good enough to get me excited. I basically needed geniuses to work with. I needed someone that just could nail it, and I didn't want to have to go through this which is what ended up happening. All this, well, this scene doesn't work right here. I don't feel enough that this is ready to go here. That was a very draining and unpleasant part of what I was trying to do. is waiting for people to get it right, because I can't proceed with something. Everyone knows that if you don't have the foundation of the script right, and you go ahead anyway, well, I don't know. It's like trying to run a race with a broken foot. You're kind of handicapped from the very beginning. I knew that. I knew better, but sometimes you just want to throw it into the wind and see if it blows or not.
In addition to not making any money until a product is out, so you're getting no income for however long it takes to create an issue, which can be a month or so. Without money, on top of that, you're paying for the writer that you've hired, and then before the book comes out, you're paying for the cost of the books to print. So that you can sell books to make money. And were you trying different marketing techniques? Did you pay for advertising and things, or were there any other expenses besides those?
Well, I wasn't smart enough to know how to pay for advertising. That would have been a whole nother contingency that would have just worn me down. In itself, it would have worn me down. I don't, sometimes I wonder what I was thinking when I did that stuff, but I only started to think about it after I realized that this was, I just wanted to draw the damn things, Yeah. That's what I wanted to do. I want a great script. I don't want any hassles. I want to get right to work. And that's not the way it worked out when I chose to self-publish. We've both seen this, Chris. The worst TV shows, the worst movies, the worst comics get all the press and all the sales. And to me, that's not exactly a silent message to me. So I learned a long time ago to not give a rat's butt about popular taste and who goes to what, because it's the thing to do.
One thing I noticed at conventions, I had a friend who's a very talented artist. He makes prints, and he just sells prints. He's always said, "Oh, I'd love to make some comics," but he doesn't have time because he's kind of gotten himself into this print business. And he sells a little print like this for $10, a bigger print like this for $20. And I'm thinking, that's one image. And even if he spent a week on it, I'm selling a comic book, 30 pages. Each page has taken me a day plus. My comic's $4, and just when you value it out on the time and the love you put into it, there's kind of an imbalance to comics, and it makes me understand why so many artists, they just go the route of graphic design or illustration, and then they get that bug to make a comic, but after they do it, they can't afford to put another month aside to put all that love into this one book, that some people read, but that's about it. And so I feel like the comics industry is such an industry of love, the creators, because as an art form, it's getting more respected, but it's not respected like work in the Met or something, and there's fame within the comics community, but we're pretty unknown. And even if a big superhero movie or whatever comes out, people don't necessarily know who created it, so there's not really fame, there's not really money. What is there? Well, it's that we just love comics.
Everything you said was right on. Me being me, I have a slight leg up than most people. Maybe you can sense that. I wanted to be way more than just somebody who toiled in the industry. I wanted to be somebody that could not be ignored. And to me, that's the foundation of my inner character, the deepest part of my inner character. To be anonymous, to go through life being anonymous was a nightmare to me. So I had to make sure and this isn't a conscious thing, it's an internal thing, that whatever I did was going to be more than average. And I looked at comics as, whenever again, my perspective is a little different. To me, the comic book format is a calling like no other. There is nothing else. There's no analogous field that would suit my abilities more than a 24-page comic book. It's a lot of work because it should be a lot of work. Because the gratification that comes from things that are almost beyond you sometimes is equal to the amount of work you put into something. You can't get it any other way. We love comic books. I love comics. I love storytelling. I love drawing. I love superheroes. And the stories that we can tell within those pages are the equivalent of anything that to me mankind has ever produced. I don't care if you're talking about the damn pyramids or the Eiffel Tower. When you author a comic book, let's just take the word comic book out of it. When you author a book that contains 20 to 24 pages like they used to, and you've got a story in there that moves people in ways that even things with a budget of $100,000 to $1 million, $100 million can't match. That's something to contemplate. You can go and spend 2 hours watching a movie that costs $200 million and get nothing out of it. So the equivalent, based on the amount of people that worked in something, in the case of a movie, what about several hundred people at least, compared to 3 guys that put together a comic book. If they don't look at us with envy, I would be a little surprised, Chris. So if you look at it in terms of practicality, you're not going to come out on top. You're going to come out in a place where you want to stop believing in what the comic book format can do for not just your life, which is everything to me, everything, but the people who are affected by what you just produced. And I always think about my idols. What those guys did is irreplaceable to me. I could not have a life without the work of Jack Kirby. I would not know where to go. I would not know how far you can go. So it's people like that have put me on a path of complete devotion to this field. Hell or high water, no matter the editor is good or the editor is bad, no matter what the policy is of the company. I'm lucky that I work with Mike Richardson at Dark Horse, because he doesn't get in my way. People that get in my way, get the hell out of my way, because I don't need you. If you're smart, I love your opinions and I love your counsel, but if you're going to get in my way with stupid ideas because you're not smart enough to be the kind of editor you should be, go deal with somebody else. You won't get along with me. And it's hard to find somebody like that, because we're talking about somebody that needs a mega dose of wisdom, and you don't find it very often. Very rarely. So that's why I always tended, we all flocked over to the older guys, the guys that came years before us. And hopefully they had the kind of things that young guys are looking for, the same things that the young guys are looking up to us for now. So my adage is to be ready for these kids, or anyone. It doesn't matter if they're 10 years, 20 years older than I am. I have to be ready based on accumulated knowledge and the wisdom of life to give them something, not just in a comic book, but something in person that they don't get from everyone they meet. that's my life. That is literally my life.